Well, welcome back, everybody. Dennis Darville with you yet again. We're beginning a new series entitled God, Golf, and the Good Life. Yeah, Christianity has a lot to say, not just about the life to come, but it has a lot to say about the age or the life in which we find ourselves. It was some years ago, I was in Fort Lauderdale. I was sitting at a bar, having a meal, and reading a good book. And a gentleman sits down beside me, and he did exactly what I expected him to do, which is ask me, "What are you reading?" And of course, I was glad he did, because I responded with, "Well, I'm reading a book that's debunking all the false ideas regarding what Christianity is." And then, of course, he was puzzled, and he asked me to explain. Well, it just so happens that particular night, I was reading a book about the good life. And so I said, well, this is a book that's addressing the issue of the good life. And as I was outlining what the Christian perspective on that is, he interrupted me, and he said, well, I'll tell you one blankety blank thing. It's not fast cars and multiple homes and yachts and fine dining and single digit handicaps and a nice stock portfolio. And he went on and on and on down that list. And then he said, because I can tell you right now, I have all of that and I'm miserable. Well, I got to spend the next hour with him explaining who Christ is, debunking some false notions that he had in his head about what Christianity was. And we had a very substantive and provocative conversation about what constitutes or what defines the good life. James K. Smith, a philosopher at Calvin College, says it's not a matter of whether we're chasing the good life. It's actually a matter of what version we're chasing. And he's exactly right. He's kind of riffing off Aristotle, I think, or maybe Augustine, or both. Aristotle, 2,500 years ago, would argue that every human being that's ever taken breath is in pursuit of eudaimonia, which for the Greeks simply meant happiness, flourishing, the good life. And then, of course, for Aristotle, it meant the contemplative life, the philosophical life. So, but here in the West, in particular in America, we have a lot of competing ideas regarding what makes up for the good life. And so just to make sure that we don't have any early misunderstandings, clearly we're not going to explore the silly, superficial ideas where the good life is depicted as something like we would have seen in the movie The Wolf of Wall Street. Nor am I going to spend time debunking, the idea that the good life looks like what the first 8 glossy pages of say a magazine like The Vogue tries to portray the good life as. No, we want to explore what the writer of Ecclesiastes was after he deliberately intentionally experimented with all kinds of versions of what the good life might look like. And he ended up bankrupt. And then in the process, he gives us just enough clues to tell us what the good life is like. And so what you're going to see, I use a few verses as our text today out of Ecclesiastes 5, where Solomon, the writer of Ecclesiastes, says, it's God, the transcendent one, who gives the power to make wealth and have possessions, but it's also this very same God who has the power to give and withhold the power to enjoy them. And so this is where we kind of find ourselves throughout the ages. I mean, you just skip a rock across the ages and you'll find all kind of competing ideas regarding what the good life looks like. You ask an unfettered capitalist what the good life looks like, he's going to remark, well, he who dies with the most toys wins. Well, that's silly. You ask a socialist what the good life looks like, and they're going to come up with some silly nonsense about utopia being just around the corner, which never arrives, of course. And so what we want to explore over the next 8 weeks or thereabouts is what does the Scripture have to say about the good life? Does Scripture teach us not only how to get to heaven, the age to come, the life to come? Does Scripture have a lot to say about how one lives their life between the bookends of birth and death? And of course, the answer is yes. But and there's been a lot of writings about this. And so finding how to rightly order our loves, as Augustine would say, finding how to really having both a love of Christ and then a love for the world and of those good things that he's created, and finding that work-life balance, finding a balance in life where we really can. Now, I personally, and in light of the audience I think I'm talking to, I personally can't imagine a good life apart from the game of golf. Now, clearly, though, right, it's gotta involve a lot more than that. I mean, I can live a good life without playing pickleball another time in my life, no doubt. And I certainly could even spend the rest of my life, whatever days the Lord allots me, with never teeing it up again and being thoroughly satisfied with life. But do I have to? I don't think so. And so what I'm going to endeavor to do over the next few weeks is try to round up some guys who've been very successful in their life, who love the Lord, who love the game of golf, who are involved at links players in some fashion around the country. And we're just going to interview them and think through, okay, well, what does the good life look like? So I hope you'll come along for the ride. I hope you'll enjoy today's devotional, and let's see what we can learn over the next few weeks. So God bless. See you then.